So now we're on Daf Chaf Aleph Amid Beis. Ikla Ravnai Achua de Rabbi Chia bar Abba leMizvin Sumsumei. So this Ravnai, who was again the brother of Chia, he came to a certain place and he wanted to buy sesame. The Omar. Hachi Omar Shmuel Eid V'Dayan Mitztarfa. Omar Meimar Kama Malia Hosh Maitita Omar Le Ravashi Lamem Mishum de Kalsa Avua de Imach At Nami Mekalsis Law. Because Rami Bar Chama, who is the father of your mother, in other words, your maternal grandfather, and Rami Bar Chama said that this is a great statement here, it's very reliable. Is therefore you feel compelled to follow in his footsteps of Rami Bar Chama and be Mishabeach. Right? So again, when Ameimer made his statement, we didn't know this, but Rav Ashi reveals the secret that Ameimer was just reiterating what he had heard from his grandfather, Rami Bar Chama. And on that, Rav Ashi points out, Kvar Parcha Rav. Rav already asked his questions and he rejected this statement of Shmuel. Now we're still learning about Kiyum Shtaros, and there are two Dayanim who recognize the signatures on the shtar, and they want to add a third Dayan and just be Makayim the shtar. Omer Rav Safra, Omer Rabbi Abba, Omer Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta, Omer Rav Huna. Amri Lei, others say it was Omer Rav Huna Omer Rav. Shlosha sheyoshvu lekayim es hashtar, shnayim akirim chasimas yedeya edim, v'echad eino makir, ad shelo chasmu, ve'edim b'fana. Before the edim, before the dayanim will sign on their henpeg, they'll get up and testify in front of the third dayan, and they'll say, we recognize these two signatures. The third dayan will accept their testimony, and now they're mitztaref with the third dayan, the chosem, and they could sign on the henpeg. However, mishachasmu, once the two dayanim have already signed on the henpeg, meaning they've already testified that they recognize the ksav yodam of the edim, and they haven't yet testified in front of the third dayan, ein me'idim b'fana. They cannot testify in front of the third dayan, and therefore the chosem, the third dayan, cannot possibly sign together with them. Right? Because the Lashon HaHentake says, Shlosha Dayanim, we three will verify and attest to the signatures, but this third dayan, he doesn't recognize the signatures. And the reason why this is a problem is because the dayanim went ahead and signed the henpek, which means that we, a bezdin of three, have verified and attest to the veracity of the shtar. But that's not true because the third dayan is not part of this. So you don't have a bezdin. So they're really signing something that's sheker, because a signature on a henpeg indicates that we have three dayanim who verified the signatures on the shtar. So the Gemara asks, "Umi kasavinon." I don't understand how you come up with this scenario where the two dayanim already signed on a henpeg, and they haven't even testified in front of the third dayan. Gomer Papi Mishmei the Rava Hai Isharta the Dayane, the Nichta Mekami, the Nichvo, Sadi, Achsimus Yadayu, Psula. If you have a henpeik, and they wrote up the henpeik in the Bezdin before the testimony on the Chasimus Yado, then it's not a valid chasima. In other words, there's no henpeik here. The henpeik is invalid. The mitchazek is shikra. How can the dayanim sign on the henpeik before they heard the edus? It's hachinami here too. If two dayanim write up the henpeik and they haven't yet testified in front of the third dayan, mitchazek is shikra. So the Gemara goes back to Rav Huna now to try to refurbish Rav Huna. Ela ema, but rather we should say that the proper text and quote of Rav Huna is Achelo Kosvu. We're talking not about the signature on the henpeik, but the writing of the text of the henpeik. Is me'idim b'fanav v'chosem imon. Mishe Kosvu ein me'idim b'fanav v'chosem. If the two dayanim already wrote up the text of the henpeik, even before they sign the henpeik, then they cannot testify in front of the third dayan. It would already be michsei kishikra because they wrote up the text of the henpeik, namely that we testify that this shtar is a valid, authentic shtar, and yet who's the we over here? The we has to be three dayanim that make up a bezdin, and the third dayan hasn't even heard any testimony. Is it? Shmamino tlas. We derive three conclusions from Rav Huna. Number one, Shmamino eid nasa dayan. You could testify and then become a dayan on that very edus, because two out of the three dayanim are testifying on the shtar, and then they become the dayanim. Ushmamino number two, dayanim amakirim chasimos yedei edim ein tzrichim l'hoy b'fneim. In other words, the dayanim could be makayim the shtar without any edus. They don't need to hear any edus. They know that the shtar is valid. They recognize the two signatures, and they could be makayim the shtar without requiring any edim to testify in front of them, simply because they know that the signatures are valid. Ushmamino number three, dayanim she'en makirin achasimos, chasimos yidei edim, tzrichim l'hoed, this they call echad v'echad. Right, there are dayanim who don't recognize the signatures. I mean, that's classic scenario. And we require that the two edim that are makayim the shtar must testify in front of each one of the dayanim. And it's only after each one of the three dayanim received and accepted the edus, then they could paskin and be makayim the shtar and sign the henpek. Because we see in Rav Huna that the dayan ashlishi cannot be joined together with the other two dayanim until after the two dayanim testify in front of him. Maskif la Rav Ashi bishlema eid nasa dayan shamina mine. I understood very well that the two dayanim testified on the shtar and they also served as dayanim. El dayanim amakirim chasimos yidei edim ein tzrichim l'hoy b'fneim. How did you derive from Rav Huna that the edim, that the dayanim don't need edus because they recognize the signatures? Dilma li'olam emelach, I could always counter argue that even according to Rav Huna, when dayanim recognize the chasimus yedei edim tzrichim, we need edim to testify. B'shani hacha. But this case was unique, and the edim don't have to come into Bezdin to testify in front of the dayanim to become a kaimei hagodah b'chan, because hagodas edus will be checked off, will be fulfilled when the two dayanim will testify in front of the third dayan. But if, let's say, all three dayanim would recognize signatures on the shtar, maybe there would be a requirement of Agodas Edus. And now we go to the third derivation from Rav Huna. Dayanim she'ein makirin chasimos yidei ha'edim is trichim lahoy b'fnei kol echad v'echad. Every dayan requires kabbalas edus. If he doesn't recognize the signatures, maybe I can reject that. Ain't tzrichim. We don't need that the edim who are makayim the shtar require that they be made in front of each one of the dayanim. It's enough that the edim who recognize the signatures testify in front of 2 out of 3 dayanim, and the third dayan can be mitzvah with the other 2. Shiny hacha. But here the loka makayim agoda klal. Here there was never a ma'isa agoda at all. And if the 2 dayanim don't testify in front of the third dayan, then you're talking about a kiyum ashtar without any agoda seidus. That's impossible. Okay, so this is where we'll stop for today. And we're up to Yosef Rabbi Abba. Okay, then, have a great day.